Then woo went the wind, and out went the light, and the 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight.
Do you need 5 little pumpkins in your life? I did, and I decided to make a tutorial of how I do it in the process. So if you would like to make an adorable little pumpkin or 2 for yourself, then keep watching for full instructions. Hello, welcome to Show and Tell Meg. I'm Megan and I like to make things. And this year that meant that I wanted to make these pumpkins. And so I decided to go ahead and film how I do it so that you can make them for yourself. Essentially, to make a pumpkin, you're thinking in terms of a ball. You start off with sort of a short ball, you stuff it, and then you use yarn and you thread it through the center, pull it out the top, and wrap it around and cinch that down. And that's what creates your little pumpkin-y sections like we are used to seeing for a pumpkin. This is maybe a 30-minute to an hour project depending on your experience level. This yarn is a little bit trickier to work with. I'm used to working with regular acrylic like Vanna's Choice, and I love this yarn and things like that. It is trickier to work with this, but it's not terrible. After a short time, you kind of get used to handling it. It is slicker than those, so just keep that in mind. Also, it is relevant. I'll say this ahead of time. I did my entire pumpkin in the back loop, like crocheting through the back loop, and then I flipped it. So this is actually the wrong side of my work because I wanted it to be nice and bumpy. If you want it to be smoother on the outside, then you can just leave it with the outside facing out. So to make these, you will need some type of yarn. This is Hobie Honey Bunny Candy Halloween in the pumpkin colorway. I believe it is still for sale. I think it's on sale, and I will link that below. You can use any acrylic yarn for this. You could use wool if you want to. It is entirely up to you. You can also use whatever size yarn you want. I used a size H crochet hook, which is a 5mm, and it worked great. You want it to have a tight gauge. You don't want your stuffing to fall out. I also used some scraps of a brown yarn for the stem. I also had needed some scrap black yarn and some craft eyes. These are 18mm craft eyes, but you could make felt eyes if you want to. You could even crochet circles in black yarn and stitch that on. So not necessary, but it does make for a very cute finished product, if I do say so myself. Now that we have our tools, let's start crocheting. Okay, so we're going to start off with a slip knot. And this kind of fuzzy yarn can be a bit interesting, but just give it a chance. And I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to single crochet into the very first stitch 6 times. To be able to keep track of my beginning of the round, I'm going to put a locking stitch marker on that last stitch. So now we're going to do 2 single crochets into the back loop of each stitch. So now we have our little circle here, and we're going to continue to increase this circle out. So we just did 2 in each. Now we're going to do 2 in the first stitch, followed by 1 single crochet in the next, and then 2 and 1. And you're just going to continue that all the way around, increasing every other stitch. Okay, and I'm going to move my stitch marker out so it's easier to tell where the end of the round is. And now we're going to continue doing increase in the next stitch, so 2 stitches in the following stitch, and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. My trick to remembering and being able to keep count while I am crocheting is I count to myself 1, 2, 3, 4. The previous row I would have counted 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is a 4-stitch count. Repeat. And now we're going to do a 5-stitch repeat. So 1, 2, increase, and then just 1 in each of the next 3. So 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing but 6. So 1, 2 in the same stitch, and then 1 in each of the next 4. Okay, now we're back at the beginning, so we're going to do an increase in the next stitch. 1, 2, and then 1 in the next 5 stitches to give 7-stitch repeat. Okay, we are on our last increase. So we're going to increase 1, 2, and then 1 in each of the next 6 stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So we have finished all of our increasing, and I'm going to move the stitch marker up to the last stitch so we can remember where the end of the round is. And now we're just going to single crochet in each stitch for about 5 rounds. And this is where, oh, let's scratch the cat. This is where you can decide how tall you want it to be if you're trying to conserve yarn.
Okay, I have completed my 5 rows of just straight single crochet. And if you notice, here's my stitch marker on the inside. Right now is about when you have a choice. I mean, you still have a choice for the end, but technically this is the right side of this project. I crocheted through the back loop so you get these lines. But personally, I liked the look better of the back side of my work in this chenille yarn because it just made it a little more bumpy. And so I'm treating the back side as my right side. And so that's just a choice you get to make for yourself from here on out. So since I'm going to have this be the right side, I'm going to reach through and I'm going to pull my tail inside. And then I'll secure that here shortly. So now that I have my 5 rounds, we are ready to start decreasing. I like this height. Keep in mind, however tall you're making it, it is going to squish down in the end. So we are now going to start decreasing. So I'm going to crochet 2 stitches together and then single crochet in the next 6. So we are literally doing the exact opposite of what we did the last time. So we are doing the
Same type of stitch progression that we did last time, except decreasing instead of increasing. Since this is one decrease stitch and then 6 regular single crochets, I'm going to say 1, 2, crochet those together, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm just going to continue to count to 8 this whole round. Okay, and just like last time, now we're on the 7 stitch round, so we're going to decrease 1, 2, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 5. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to do that same thing all the way around. Okay, so I have secured my tail with a big darning needle just to make sure that the starting section doesn't unravel on whoever I give this to. And now I am decreasing on the 6 count row. So I am saying 1, 2 as a decrease, and then regular single crochets, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to do that all the way around. So at this point is about when I like to move my stitch marker to the wrong side. So I'm going to take it off there and I'm going to put it on the outside area. I just realized that I forgot to add eyes. So we're going to take some craft eyes. If you're giving this to a very small child, you're probably going to want to make these out of felt, but I have these nice big craft eyes. These are 18mm eyes, but really you could do big eyes, you could do little eyes, and it'll just change the look. It'll still be cute kind of no matter what you have on hand. So I'm kind of pinching this down to see where I want the eyes to be. Once he's squished, that will be pretty good. I have 5 stitches in between the eyes, and I'm making sure they're on the same row. Very important. So this is my face, and I'm going to squeak in these washers. Don't be like me. Put these on before you have decreased this much. Okay. And I'm going to pull up a big loop so this doesn't unravel. And this is when I like to stuff mine. I find that for stuffing, you always need way more than you think you will. So I take a nice big wad and just cram it in there. And I like to push my fingers in the center and pull the polyfill apart to create like a pocket in the center. And this will prevent it from getting lumpy if you do that every time you add. So now I have a smaller wad and I'm going to add that right into the center and do the same thing. Push my fingers down and pull outward at the same time to fill the whole space. You want to stuff it where this has some give, because we're going to be cinching this down. In another type of amigurumi, I would be stuffing this to where it was completely firm, but I don't want that. I want it to be able to squish a bit. So for right now, this looks good, and I'm going to continue to decrease. And now I'm on a decrease 5 count row. So I'm going to 1, 2 to decrease, 3, 4, 5, all the way around. And now we're on the 4 count decrease. 1, 2 as a decrease, and then 2 regular single crochets, 3, 4, and do that all the way around. Okay, we are nearing the end, so now we're on a 3 count decrease. So 1, 2 as a decrease, and then 1 stitch is your third. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so we are nearing the end, and there's a little bit of space here, so I'm actually going to take one more ball of stuffing and just cram that right in the middle. Again, not making it super tight, but I'm still pushing that out towards the edges because I'm going to want this to fill out, and it's going to be more like flattened. So now I am on decrease every stitch. Okay, and then for the very last stitch to close it up, I like to just do the next stitch and keep that on there. I'm decreasing across. So I'm going to about stitch number 4 over here and grabbing sometimes with the hook to hook underneath and decrease those 2 together. Then I pull up a big loop, and you're gonna want a pretty long tail. I give myself probably like 2 feet. It's okay if your tail doesn't end up being long enough. You can add more in, but I'm gonna measure out about 2 feet and then snip and pull it through to knot my end. And now we can take off the stitch marker, and we have this adorable little ball with eyes, which is still cute by itself, but now we're going to make it like a pumpkin. So now you need a big darning needle. I like the really long ones for this because you can really feel through the project. So I'm going to thread the darning needle. First thing, I'm going to take that tail inside. So I'm squeezing, and I'm trying to keep the top and bottom centered with each other. And I'm putting the darning needle through and trying to come up right in the center of the top. And then pull that snug to where you get a divot, like a donut. And then I'm going to just go about a stitch away from where I just did and go right back through the same hole on the bottom and pull tight. And now I have this little kind of donut-y shape. Do be careful pulling on this chenille yarn. If you pull too hard, it will break. So just keep that in mind. So I'm pulling that snug, and then I'm going to take this next to the eyes and drape it over, hold it in place while I put the darning needle back through the center again. And I'm going to pull it snug to where it makes a little cinch. And then I like to do the other side of the face next. So I'm going to go the same distance, go back through the middle again, and again, pull it snug so that it sections them off like a pumpkin. And then I'm going to try to do the same distance all the way around. On mine, I've been having 5 sections, pulling it snug each time. And my final one. And pull in snug. So I have this little pumpkin-y kind of shape, and then I'm just going to make a knot on the bottom to secure it. Since I'm holding so much tension there, I'm gonna do a double knot. And then I just take the excess, thread it through, and then snip off that bit. After a little squeezing, you have a cute pumpkin. Next, we're gonna make the stem, and I'm just using regular acrylic yarn for this, so I'm gonna do a standard magic loop. And then I'm going to single crochet 6 in the loop. Closed. And so next I'm going to increase every other stitch. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hi Daisy, 9. And now I'm going to just single crochet around those 9. I'm going to stop to secure the top. Just make a knot. And I don't bother cutting off that excess, I just tuck it inside. So now we just did a single crochet row of 9 stitches. Now I'm going to decrease. 1, 2, so decrease, and then 1 regular stitch. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's as tall as I want my stem to be. If you want it taller, you could just extend that a little bit. And I'm going to cut off a decent little tail, just a few, like 6, 8 inches. I'm going to secure the end, and then I take my darning needle. I'm going to take my starting tail and tuck it inside, and you won't need any more stuffing than that. I like to go under the stitch right next to mine just to level it off, right where it ended. And then I'm going to sew that just right into the center. So I put it into the stem and then just find an inconspicuous spot that I can give that a little knot. And then I just thread that back inside the stem and cut. So the final step is to just give him a little smile, and I just have some random black yarn. I'm going to cut a small length, thread my darning needle, and I like to come from the bottom section, and I like to put mine centered, like the 2 center stitches between the eyes. So I'm going to come up through this hole, leaving some tail there, and then I'm going to go back in 2 stitches over and 1 stitch down in the center. I'm going to come up there. And as I'm pulling that tight, I'm going to loop underneath to give it that V shape and thread it right back through there and right back through where I originally threaded the black yarn. And I take my 2 ends and double knot them together. And then I cut that fairly short, and I take my crochet hook again from a different point, and I just grab that and tuck it inside, and no one will ever know that it is there. And if you need to readjust afterwards, I like to make his smile nice and prominent. And there you have an adorable little pumpkin, very easy to make.
And there you have it. That is all that there is to making these adorable little pumpkins. Look at this stack. Don't you need a stack of pumpkins? I mean, this makes me not want to give them to anybody. It makes me want to just keep them for myself. This is what I managed to get out of 2 skeins of that yarn. I did have to bring in a little bit of orange acrylic. I think I used Vanna's Choice in an orange colorway. Because this yarn is so lofty, if you look, you can't even tell which one I had to use a different yarn to cinch it in with. When my kids were a little bit younger, they were obsessed with this book. I think because it's easy to memorize, it's a little poem, but it's adorable. If you aren't familiar with the story, I do recommend it. Check your library. I'm sure that they would have it. This is just such a cute low stakes project. If you want some kind of adorable crocheted item to pass your time and have a really cute Halloween decoration that you can look back on year after year, I definitely recommend giving these a try with whatever type of yarn you have. And if you do, please do comment below. If you can send me a photo, I would absolutely love to see them. I just think they're so cute. So I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. I hope it's useful for you. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful Halloween with your stack of cute pumpkins.